Hello everyone, my name is David. Today we are going to explain a movie named Diary, released in 2022. So sit with some popcorns, relax and enjoy this movie. In the first scene of the movie, we see a couple driving to Ooty at night. After traveling for a long time, they reach a dangerous mountain road where the husband tells his wife that they are about to reach the 13 hairpin bends. In response, the wife asks, "So what?" The husband says, "You probably don't know about this turn. There are quite a few scary stories famous about this bend. Anyone who passes this bend at night sees a woman with her child standing in front of their car, asking for a lift. But anyone who stops to give her a lift is never seen alive again." In this way, the husband tries to scare his wife with such stories. After a while, when they actually reach the 13 hairpin bends, something suddenly appears in front of their car. The husband loses control of the vehicle, and it crashes into a large rock, killing both husband and wife on the spot. The next day, every TV news channel reports the accident, stating that incidents are happening frequently at the 13 hairpin bends. The Ooty police have warned the public not to go there at night, and if they must, to be extremely careful. Some people believe they have seen strange things there, while others say that the bend is such that it's impossible to see oncoming vehicles at night, causing frequent accidents. In the next scene, we see a police training academy, where a new batch of police officers has just completed their training. Among them, we see an officer named Varda. Their senior officer addresses the group saying, "These case files you see behind me are all unsolved cases. Each of you will choose one of these unsolved cases and solve it. This will be your final training assignment." The officers then begin selecting their case files according to their preferences. Warda then closes his eyes and places his hand on a random case file. He picks a case that involves a murder of a couple in a hotel in Ooty 16 years ago, and all their jewelry was stolen. The case has remained unsolved for 16 years. Warda's case was in Ooty, so he immediately heads there. At the police station, he shows his appointment letter to the local inspector, who assigns an SI named Pavitra to help him with the case. First, Pavitra and Warda go to meet a retired police officer who worked on the case 16 years ago. Warda starts asking the retired officer for details about the case. The officer says, "This is a 16-year-old case. We tried hard to crack it, but we couldn't identify the culprit, and it remained unsolved. So, when I couldn't solve this case 16 years ago, what do you think you can do now? If you ask me, son, you should work on another case." But Varda doesn't listen. Then the retired police officer gives Varda the details of his investigation related to this case to help him out. While returning to Warda, Pavitra says, "We will also send the details of this case to police stations in other states, so if a similar incident has happened elsewhere, we might get some clues from there." As the investigation progresses slowly, Warda and Pavitra start getting closer to each other and begin to like each other. During this time, Warda introduces Pavitra to his guardian, the church's father. Despite thorough investigation, Warda fails to find any evidence and is unsure how to proceed with the case. Amidst this case, one day, Pavitra meets Warda at a restaurant. Just then, Warda's friend Akshaya calls him and says, "Warda, I'm calling from Kumbhakudam. Actually, just a few days ago, you sent me details about a case to my police station, right? A similar incident happened in this area too. So I think the culprit in your case and the culprit in my case are the same. Also, at that time, the police had arrested two suspects named Jay Kumar and Anand." Now, upon learning all this, Warda says, "I'm coming over right away. Until then, send me the details of this case." Now, as Warda steps out of the restaurant to head to Kumbhakudam, he notices that his car is missing from where he parked it. Immediately, Warda and Pavitra check the CCTV there, revealing that a thief named Satya had stolen Warda's car, which contained Warda's police revolver and the files related to this case. Pavitra mentions, "I know Satya. He's quite cunning and dangerous. He steals people's cars and sells them in Kunur. So, we need to leave for Kunur immediately." Here, all checkpoints in Varda city are alerted. That same night, on the other side, we see three thieves, Jaykumar, Citraso, and Anand. They forcefully enter a couple's hotel room and brutally assault them, stealing all their jewelry. After that, from there, all three of them quickly go to Ooty bus stand, where the bus going from Ooty to Coimbatore is already standing. They immediately board that bus. However, as Citraso tries to get onto the bus, he feels as if some strange, mysterious entity passed right in front of him. Citraso gets nervous about this, but then he convinces himself it was just an optical illusion and boards the bus. Already seated in the bus are two other women, an elderly woman dressed as a saintly figure, and another named Meenakshi. Speaking of Meenakshi, her husband passed away a few years ago, leaving her with an 8-year-old child. Every day, Meenakshi travels from one city to another to work in a clothing factory. Now the bus departs from Ooty for Coimbatore, where shortly after a girl named Liji boards the bus. Actually, Liji stays in a hostel in Coimbatore and studies in a nearby college, and she had come to Ooty and is now returning home. In another scene, we see a man named Raman. Actually, Raman's girlfriend lives in another village where she is supposed to marry another guy tomorrow. So, she has called Raman to her village to escape together. As soon as she arrives at Raman's bus stop, Raman also boards the bus, where every couple of minutes, Raman's girlfriend calls him to get updates. In another scene, we see two lovers, where the girl's name is Ragavi and the boy's name is Ajil. They love each other and are running away from home together for this reason. After a while, when Ragavi's father finds out that his daughter has eloped with a boy, he immediately calls his men to search for Ajil and Ragavi, instructing them to attack and kill them wherever they find them. On the other side, Satya, who stole the car in Varda, sells it to a man and takes the money, leaving from there. Meanwhile, Varda and Pavitra learn from a man that he saw Varda's car on this same route a little while ago, passing by a car shed ahead. On another side, a family boards the bus, husband, wife, and their 2 children. They are also headed to Coimbatore. On the other hand, some people start following Ajil and Ragavi, who are actually men of Ragavi's father. Both of them manage to board that bus somehow to save their lives. In this way, Varda and Pavitra finally reach the car shed where Varda spots her car. There, a fierce fight breaks out between Varda and some goons, culminating in Varda beating them all and reaching her car. She realizes the car is found, but the case file and revolver are still not in the car. She asks the goons where some important items were in the car. They say, "Sir, when that thief sold us the car, there was nothing in it. But yes, I might have seen that item in his hands. Surely he must have taken your belongings with him." On the other side, Ajil and Ragavi begin telling some passengers their story on the bus. They have loved each other deeply since school days. After school, when Ragavi told her father about her love for Ajil and her intention to marry him, her father severely beat Ajil and his father, resulting in Ajil's father's death. Essentially, in anger, Ragavi's father got Ajil's father killed. Because of this, the 2 of them ran away from home and will now start a new life far away, where no one can separate them again. Further down the road, an indigenous family boards the bus destined for a nearby village. Meanwhile, hearing Ragavi and Ajil's story, the conductor asks, "So where will you 2 go and how will you manage? How will you make a living?" Ragavi replies, "Uncle, I've brought a lot of gold and jewelry from my home so that we can sell it in case of trouble and manage our living." Upon hearing about the gold there, the ears of those 3 thieves sitting behind in the bus perk up, and they begin to plan amongst themselves how they could steal the gold from Ragavi. Meanwhile, a while ago on the bus, a family had come where the man was a lawyer. He tells Agil and Ragavi, "Get married as soon as possible, because after that, I will support you and no one will be able to harm you." Upon hearing this, the elderly woman from the tribal family suggests to everyone, "There's a sacred temple in the nearby village. Why don't we all gather there and have their wedding?" Everyone on the bus loves the idea, and as soon as they reach the temple, the bus stops and everyone gets off. However, the woman in the guise of a holy saintess remains asleep on the bus. After a while, when she wakes up, she sees the bus standing alone on a deserted road with no one else inside except her. This sight startles her. Then, the woman notices strange marks of hands on the bus windows and faces of people on the seats, even though the bus is completely empty. Seeing this, she becomes very frightened and starts praying to God. On the other side, at the temple, all the passengers come together and arrange Agil and Ragavi's wedding. Afterwards, everyone returns to the bus, which sets off again towards Coimbatore. The woman disguised as a saintess is still troubled by what she saw in the empty bus. Meanwhile, Jaykumar and the other two thieves are still plotting how to steal all of Ragavi's jewelry. As they approach the next village, the tribal family gets off where some people in a car show them a photo of Ragavi and ask if they have seen the girl. She knew the whole situation, that some people were following them, so she denies ever having seen the girl before. But there's a little girl with her who says, "Grandma, we just met this girl on the bus a little while ago, and we even arranged her marriage." Hearing this, the goons become suspicious of the tribal, due to which these goons crush the entire family with their car. Now, over there, another man boards the bus, sits directly behind Lizzie, and starts teasing her, which starts irritating Lizzie repeatedly. Meanwhile, Raman observes that a woman dressed as a saintly figure seems quite scared and nervous, sitting with a strange expression. Seeing this, Raman approaches her and starts asking her what happened. Upon this, the woman tells Raman, "I've sensed something strange in this bus, as if some negative energy or spirit is present here. Haven't you noticed a strange scent in this bus, like the one that comes from dead bodies?" Hearing all this, Raman also becomes frightened. He says, "You're right, ma'am. I've been feeling everything here in this bus is quite strange. I keep feeling that the girl Lizzie is actually a ghost." Saying this, Raman approaches Lizzie again to check on her and tries to wake her up from her sleep. As Lizzie lifts her head, her face looks very terrifying to Raman. This sight sends chills down Raman's spine, and he trembles with fear. However, upon looking closely again, Lizzie's face appears normal. Now, Raman and the woman decide that as soon as the bus stops somewhere, they will immediately get off and run away from the bus. After going a little further, an officer stops the bus. Immediately, Raman and the woman get off the bus in a hurry and also prevent the officer from boarding, saying that there is something eerie on the bus, don't go. However, jokingly, the officer boards the bus with them. Just then, a very scary-looking girl sitting in the bus comes in front of him, and seeing this, the officer also gets scared and gets off the bus. Just then, Varda and Pavitra are passing by in their car, and Raman stops them seeing the police car and starts telling them everything, that there are strange things on that bus which endanger the lives of all the passengers. Varda forcibly takes Raman along on her bike to follow that bus, while Pavitra tries to find out the truth about Satya. On the other side, the bus continues at its speed, with all the passengers deeply asleep. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Jaykumar wakes up both his companions from their sleep and then quietly goes near Raghuvir and Agil's seat and starts stealing from their jewelry-filled bag. However, the girl sitting on the next seat wakes up and sees Jaykumar stealing, alerting all the passengers. Now, when things worsen, Jaykumar and the other two thieves start threatening all the passengers by showing a knife, demanding the bus driver to stop the bus. As soon as the bus stops, Varda, who was following the bus with Raman, immediately boards, and upon learning the whole situation, he starts grappling with these three thieves. Finally, after beating them, he ties them to the seat with a rope. Meanwhile, amidst this scuffle, Varda's attention falls on those jewels which Jaykumar and his companions had stolen from the couple they had robbed, and which Varda had seen in the photo in her case file. In the road ahead, Varda also repeatedly sees marks of someone's hands on the windows of the bus, and sometimes a face also starts to appear. Over there, this bus reaches near the 13 hairpin band. Here in the bus, Varda begins to inquire about these three thieves, asking for their names and details, where they disclose that they recently murdered a couple in a hotel near Ooty and stole these jewels. They don't remember the name of the hotel, but it is located in Rouge Garden. Now, knowing all this, Varda immediately calls the Ooty police station and instructs them to check all hotels in Rouge Garden. They don't know which hotel's room the couple was killed in. Upon this, all the police officers prepare a team and start checking each room in every hotel in Rouge Garden. Meanwhile, on the other side, Varda calls Pavitra and tells her everything, also mentioning that this bus feels a bit strange to me. It feels like there's something weird present in this bus. Now Pavitra takes the bus number from Varda and says, "I'll find out about this bus. In the meantime, gather details of all passengers sitting in the bus." Varda then starts approaching each passenger to collect their details. Meanwhile, he wakes up Liji, and her sleep is disturbed. Startled, Liji wakes up. When Varda asks her, Liji tells him that she just had a terrible dream where some people attacked this bus and you were shooting at them with your gun. Varda says here that I don't even have a gun, so don't be afraid, it was just a dream. Now, when Varda goes to Agul and Raghavi to get their details, Raghavi tells here that she is the daughter of MLA Ooty. Hearing this, all the passengers are shocked because they had no idea that she had arranged the marriage of MLA's daughter. On the other hand, Pavitra goes to the bus station and tells the bus number to the man and asks for the bus details. Now that man checks all the registers, but he doesn't find the details of this bus number anywhere. Now he tells Pavitra that no bus with this number exists. After hearing all this, Pavitra is completely stunned. In the next scene, we see Satya boarding the same bus that had stolen Varda's car, and the revolver from that car was still with Satya. Varda, upon seeing Satya, starts beating him and snatches the bag from him in which Varda's gun was kept. Seeing the gun, Liji remembers her dream and starts getting anxious. Meanwhile, Varda continues to beat Satya, but before that, Meenakshi saves Satya and tells him, "Son, you seem to be from a good family. Why are you involved in theft? Leave this wrongdoing. When your parents find out that you are doing all this, how will it affect their hearts? I also have an 8-year-old child. I would never want him to engage in such wrongful acts. The police here check every hotel in Ooty, but no murder or theft had occurred in any hotel." On the other side, Pavitra calls Varda and says, "Varda, there's no record of the bus you're on." Hearing this, Varda is completely shocked. To reassure herself, Varda asks the bus conductor for her ID card, which turns out to be real. Varda is perplexed, not understanding what is going on. At that moment, men from the MLA's party follow the bus from behind and manage to board it somehow, attempting to kill Ajil and Raghavi. Varda fights them to save both. In the struggle, the goons manage to fatally stab Raghavi in the neck. Enraged, Varda pulls out her gun and starts firing at each one of them, fulfilling Liji's dream after all. As the intense fight ensues between Varda and the goons, a knife accidentally pierces the driver's throat, resulting in his death as well. As a result, the bus goes out of control. Above is the dangerous area of 13 Hairpin Bend, where the bus now moves erratically without a driver. Meanwhile, from the other side, a couple approaches in their car, the same couple we saw at the beginning of the movie. Their car collides with a rock as the bus, causing their immediate death. Over there, the bus finally stops at the end of the hill, where even a slight movement could make the entire bus fall into the gorge. Now, Varda tries his best to save each person, but the situation had deteriorated so much that he could only save himself along with Liji, Raman, and Satya. Meanwhile, everyone else falls into the gorge with the bus. The next morning, the police, media, and other rescue teams arrive at the scene, where the rescue team starts searching for people in the river and the bus. After searching for quite some time, they find the bus and the river at a depth in one corner. However, as soon as the bus is pulled out of the water, Varda and the other 3 passengers are startled because the bus was very old. All the passengers in the bus had turned into skeletons, except for the man who was sitting behind Leji, engaging in a scuffle with him. After seeing all this, Satya realizes that the lady Meenakshi in the bus, whom he thought was persuading him to quit wrongdoing, was not someone else but his mother. She had left Ooty 16 years ago when Satya was 8 years old to catch a bus for their village but never arrived. Now Varda and Pavitra go to an office to request details about this bus, where they find out that this bus went from Ooty to Coimbatore in the year 2000 and mysteriously disappeared one day. Along with all its passengers, they find out at a hotel in the garden that on the same day the bus disappeared 16 years ago, a couple was murdered in a room here, and all their jewelry was stolen. Now, Varda tells Pavitra that he felt like he was back in time 16 years ago yesterday and saw everything happen again before his eyes. Now, Varda gathers all the evidence related to this case and arrests the MLA for murdering his daughter and others 16 years ago. Afterwards, he goes to the church and tells Father everything. When Father learns all the details, he tells him that all this happened with Varda and you because you were involved in that case and connected to those 13 hairpin bands. In reality, that night, due to the bus, the car collided with a boulder where both couples died, and there was a child sleeping on the back seat of the car. A little later, as Father was passing through the same road, he notices the child and realizes that this child is none other than Varda. 16 years ago, Varda's parents were the husband and wife who died in the car accident. Father shows Varda a picture of her parents, and since then, Varda waits every day for that bus to come again, watching as 4 years pass without the bus coming back. Here, Varda and Pavitra are married, and they also have a son. One night, Varda suddenly receives a call from her old friend Akshaya announcing her engagement. However, Varda explains that she can't come because today is February 29th, her parents' death anniversary. Upon hearing this, Pavitra notices a pattern. She tells Varda that her parents' accident happened on February 29th, and exactly 4 years ago, when you were investigating this case, you were also on that bus on February 29th. So, that bus only appears every 4 years on February 29th, and today is indeed February 29th. Upon hearing this, Varda rushes to that bus stand in Ooty, where Satya also waits to see his mother, Meenakshi, again. Finally, the bus arrives again, where both of them board the bus. And thus, our story comes to an end. If you like this explanation, please like it. If you have any issues, comment and give feedback. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe to it. Thank you very much.